So what I get excited about is as KISS, we just continue to show up and do what we can, right? Like I shot 500 weddings and I'm excited to show up and share. Our goal is not for photographers just to be happy, but we want to see photographers be successful. So when I catch wind of people showing up and doing what you did and finding success from it, I can't help but see, you can do this. I know you can do it. Like there's
Right.
so much fear and things that come in as creatives and as humans. But I believe you showed up and you did it. And I'm I celebrate you. I'm so excited for you. I'm excited for your clients. And I am excited for the people that will hear this and understand that they can also do this,
Right.
So let's go with where are you at? Where are you located?
So I'm located in Virginia in a small town, one red light, 1,000 people.
Wow.
So it's very tiny. You have to drive 30 minutes to get to coffee. And the closest metropolitan, area that I would put on my website that I would be shooting in is an hour away.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good to know as well. I didn't know that till just now, and that's part of it. I have a list of our top clients, and I go through and I see these towns, and I'm like, where is that? You would think it'd be like Los Angeles and Chicago, big cities, and it's just not always.
No.
It's I feel like sometimes these are the great places of hey, I'm just serving my clients well, and so I love that, and I'm so grateful for that. So how long have you been doing this photography?
So I've been doing photography officially since May of 2018. So not a super long time.
Wow.
My photography business really, crazy enough, started out of desperation. I've been doing it for years as far as just for family and friends for things. But then I had a son in that January, and when he was born, he had some issues going on pretty young, and I was missing a lot of work, to the point that I was not getting paid for going to work at some points. And so my mom was, took me somewhere to get pictures done of Connor, his little imprints on things on pottery. And I kept thinking in my mind, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. And I really don't want to have that conversation with my mom. And the woman had mentioned that she saw that I did my brother's prom pictures on the internet. He'd went to prom a couple weeks before. He's 10 years younger than me. I just did it because I'm his sister. And she said, well, Beth, I'll tell you what, if you'll do Molly's senior photos because she's graduating in 2 weeks, I'll give you all the pottery and we'll trade. And you should have seen my face. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I'll do it. And I put those out of Molly on the internet. And within a week, I had 30 inquiries of people asking if I did photos. And it just kind of was born. It just kind of happened.
Wow.
So that's where it all started.
Just with the numbers that you shared, there's no way I would have guessed that. So let's get into some of that. That's where it started, not that long ago,
right.
2 years-ish ago. Where are you at today? Weddings. What type of photography did you do, or what types of photography do you do?
So now I'm in the process of niching down to pretty much just weddings and bump to baby just for my brides and senior girls. So I do it all still right now in this season. I'm currently just coming out of Alicia Crossley's mastermind.
Oh, cool.
Love her. She has taught me a lot. And, she has said, if I have to come to Virginia and not allow you to do 89 sessions in a month, I will. She goes, so that's what I've been doing for a long time. But last year I did 28 weddings. This year I have 15. I like that number. I'd like to be no more than 20 if I could. But I really love the weddings because I love that I get to be with them through so much of their story. And then I'm in the transition now of most of those girls from last year, those brides coming back wanting me for, maternity, lifestyle, newborn, and doing that only for them. So I'm kind of niching down to just that.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, there's seasons, I did it for 15 years, and there were seasons where it's all of a sudden I get all these phone calls of I shot 60 weddings last year. Now a lot of them are having babies. Do you do that? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm sure I can. I like money, so I'm going to go ahead and figure out how to do that. And then I was like, not my thing. Maybe I can have somebody else do that or whatever, but I get it.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you can see Kisses, like we like to specialize in things. And I believe
Right.
marketing is one thing, like we can specialize in things. I also believe there is a season of like, hey, we're going to hustle because I got bills to pay. And
Right.
most of the time I'm talking with photographers, it's like, I want more work. And so I'm like, go get that work, specialize. And next week I'm going to be talking to like a brand specialist. And there is so many different avenues that we can go, but there are seasons where it's like, you know what, I'm going to make money and that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
So yeah, I'm going to figure out how to do this. And then we get to a point where it's like, we're going to focus, you know?
Yeah.
So when I started Kiss, we were able to focus on a hill that nobody was on. Nobody was specializing in simple back, 13 years ago. And we picked that because I was doing photography and I had an income. And so we're like, hey, let's try this, And so that was like, got us to where we are today ultimately. But what's going to get us to that next thing is not what necessarily got us here. So we figured that out, right? Like as business owners and things like that. So you're doing quite a bit of weddings, you're doing other things as well. Where were you with albums, like before our conversation, before you like texted me and just said like, hey, this is what I got going on. Thanks for what you're sharing.
Yeah. So I was not doing any of that as far as albums was because I just thought it not to be necessary. And then I'm just being honest. I was like, oh, well, I just don't really have time, or I don't think everybody will see that as a luxury that they can't do right now. There were a lot of things that held me off from it. And honestly, I think the thing that held me off the most is that I had not found anywhere that made the process, like you said, you decided to be on the hill for simple. And I had not found anywhere that was simple, that I could actually get someone to email me back within a 24-hour period, because you said, right, we're hustling. So I can't wait for your answer for a week. And could do the whole process where when I got the product, it was amazing for me to be able to give to somebody. Like it wasn't just like, oh yeah, it looks just like what you would have got off at Shutterfly.
Yeah.
That is not what it is. But I know that when I first started beforehand, that's what I thought. I'm like, well, it's just going to be like any other album is, that you see, and it's not. So
yeah, that's good. I think, a lot of people just say like, my brides don't want it. Right. It sounds similar, in some ways, where it's like, they can't afford it. This is the polls that we've ran. We can't afford it. I'm not a good salesperson as the photographer. They'll figure it out. Like there's those, Shutterflies and those things of the world, and they'll figure it out. What really got me, I was like, great, like maybe they will. And I'm going to keep showing up for the people that are choosing Kiss over allowing their clients to do that. And then I started to see statistics that were like, they're actually not doing anything with those photos.
No.
And 70 to 80% of books that get started in the consumer world in design don't get printed. That's where it's like my heart just sinks, not for like the fact that there's like whatever, like business to be had. I'm like, it's more like they don't have this book on their table. Like they're frustrated. Who knows the stories, but I could assume some of the things are like, hey, they're not a designer. They're overwhelmed with the options. Who knows what it is, but it's like, how can we step up? And that's when I started to go down this road of like, how can we be the professionals in the relationship as the photographer and show up for them and serve them to a different finish line? So tell me your version of that. Tell me, like, who are you listening to? You told me James and Jess, and I don't know how much you've heard from Kiss and all that stuff, but like, how'd you get to the point where you are like, I'm going to take this first step, and like, what switched in your mind? What did you hear? And then what was that step? So take it one bit at a time. Where'd you hear about this information?
So, it's crazy because, I'm from a small town, so I never really thought for a long time that I could be this person, as far as that even be a photographer. And where it really all began for me, which is crazy to me now because it's been so many years, but like Anna Marie Akins and I are very, very good friends.
Cool.
We went to Virginia Tech together, and I was one of her first subjects when she first decided to pick up a camera. She took my senior portraits at Virginia Tech. And she was the first person that I asked if I really could be a photographer. Like, I wanted her opinion. I'm like, Anna, you can tell me if you think my stuff sucks. Like, just go ahead and say, no, pick something else. And she's the first person who like believed in me, that I could do it. And so when I first started down this path, I started listening to, Caitlin James, her sister Emily, and I went to college together at Virginia Tech as well. So I'd known of Caitlin for a long time, followed for a long time. So of course I started going down that path. And then I got connected with Alicia Crossley because I really love how she serves people. That was really important to me because Scott jokes that, in college, like I could have had 30 coffee dates a week and I would be thriving in that. Yeah. I loved being around people. I loved the relationship piece. And, I had 12 girls in my wedding. So, I mean, like that's my thing. So, and I'm a marketing major, went to business school for marketing. And so I got asked in my senior class one time from one of my professors, she said, Beth, if you could only sell one thing for the rest of your life, like it's the only thing you can sell, what is it? And I said, Jesus. In a class of 500. She's like, that's not what I expected you to say. But that was, and I say that story because that's really what allowed me to start selling albums. And I know that sounds so probably ridiculous to some people, but I knew that I could sell really their story. I'm like, nobody's story is like anybody else's. And when I started listening to Alicia and how she served her clients and how she would write in her, planner that, Cindy is going to try on her dress today. I'm going to shoot her a text, or, Barbara's mom is not doing well. I'm going to send her some flowers next week. I mean, Alicia is the epitome of what that is. And that's how I wanted to be, because I knew that if I could be that way, because I'm already am that way, with people, if I could make my business about that, then it was going to be very easy to have that discussion about the album, because it's that natural next step for what they've already invested in. People cannot buy. It's exactly what James said the other day. People cannot buy what they don't know about. No one knows that they truly want an album because they can't picture it unless it's got their own photos in it. Like, this is my story. This isn't some people you took pictures of in Hawaii. This isn't, that destination wedding in California. I don't care if you got married in your little church where your parents got married and you had your reception in a gym. You still can have a beautiful album to show your kids, and that sits on your coffee table. So when you're sorry,
I don't know what's going on. There we go.
Oh, sorry.
Hold on, just 1 sec. Is that better?
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on. Go ahead.
Sorry. But I was just going to say that. So when, as a joke, when your husband doesn't do the dishes, or like when you guys argue about something, you sit down and open that album and be like, oh, look, I really do remember why we did all this.
Right.
So that's kind of where it started for me, and has become just watching those people, James and Jess, watching Alicia, watching Caitlin and Anna, how they have loved people in the business. It became something that I knew that I didn't want to be just that photographer who sent a link at the end being like, thanks so much for letting me be your photographer. It's over. Yeah. It just felt like a bad breakup. And now that we do like a celebrate party where we have all our brides and grooms there, and let them bring their family and see it, and they can see all the albums, we feel like we're just like Scott and I, because we're a husband and wife team, we just naturally feel like we're loving them the way we would want to love them. And the album is that initial like next step for them, and they feel not like it's a sale or not like we're the bait and switch, but that we care enough about them that they're like, we can't wait to get this, because this is the end of our experience with them. So.
You've done a good job with trust, when it comes down to that. This is a big thing to implement. We understand that, but the one thing that it's like, no matter what, you got to show up and create the great experience,
Right.
And I think we can focus on that so much that we don't serve them in other ways. But if we do that, then they do trust us. It's not bait and switch. We're not selling them something that they don't want. Do they need it? Who knows? I truly believe that these things can save marriages someday, and if we even show up as as a professional in their life and create that experience, but also like as a, like, I care about you and I care about marriage and I care about relationships. And I love what I do for a living. This just points back to that moment that's like, hey, this day was designed for us to show up and get married. And that's what we did. But there's just not a lot of days that are designed where I'm going to buy dinner for 200 of my friends and they're all going to be there to watch me and my partner on how much I love her, and like, and look into their eyes, and like, it just doesn't happen, right? Except for that one day. So that's what's so special about that day. And without a book, you have to kind of like dig up, like, what's one of the most questions, or the most, one of the biggest questions we get as photographers is like, hey, can you send me that link? I don't know where my photos are. Can you send me that link? Can you send me that link? It's like, I do it. We hire people to photograph us, and I'm like, where's that link? But if I had it printed, I wouldn't really need it, you know?
Exactly. And I can speak to that because I switched CloudSpot to CloudSpot this year. I love the other platform I was using, but there were just too many check marks for CloudSpot for me. I was like, this makes 100% sense. I'm making the switch. And when I made the switch, I couldn't take the old galleries with me from the other place. And so I had to start the process of sending emails, which I do portraits too. Sometimes, you know, embarrassingly enough, 89 a month, when that was, you know, like the October, November, when everybody's doing the harvest, you know, everybody loves the trees. And I recognize that out of my 28 brides, now hear this, 28 brides I had in 2019, 22 of them had not even downloaded their full gallery to anywhere. Like it was still living in the links, you know, that I had sent. And that speaks exactly to what you said of, you know, 70, 80% never do anything with it. I feel like so many photographers, myself included, because I'm brand new. I've not been doing this a decade. I don't have like this large, you know, wisdom, but I can say in the very little time that I'm doing it is that there are more people than you think that want you to step into that role of being the professional for them and to help guide them. Just like you ask your hairstylist, my hair is dry. What kind of shampoo is going to help my hair be shiny again and look like I'm 20? Or, you know, the makeup artist that you know, message and say, make these red spots go away for a girl. The same thing applies in photography, is that if you don't hold their hand and show them that there is a better way to do something with the photos that they just invested in, then just let them live on a link that they're going to text you in 6 months and ask for, then that is your opportunity right there to be like, I am the professional. Let me help you see what your options are. Not saying you have to do any of them, not saying that, you know, this is what I'm not hoarding your link and saying you can't ever have it again unless you do these things. But here's what a great next step is. And I think everybody really is looking for that. Photographers just aren't doing it.
Yeah. There's so much here. And I really, really appreciate you showing up in this way and just being authentic and honest, because I can preach this and I can read statistics, and I'm not really a numbers guy, but I've learned to understand enough about them as a creative that we can respond to it. And so it's the ones like, so just the fact that I not that long ago really kind of despised some numbers, but understood that as a business owner and things like that, I have to understand them. As a creative in general, numbers aren't our thing. Like we could say like, hey, come check out, I'm doing this workshop and my attorney friend is going to be here. It's like, you're going to get crickets. My CPA is going to be here and show you how to do taxes. It's like, there's like 2 photographers on the planet are going to want to go to that, you know? As soon as you say like, we're going to do styled shoot, there's a line out the door, right? Nothing wrong with that, but there's other things that we need to do. And the word that you used was opportunity. That is where I'm like, you're 2 years into this, and you're not the only person that's 2 years into this, because I feel like there's just our industry has a lot of people that are 1, 2, 3 years into this, not charging a lot of money to do this. And also like, I'm going to take your pictures and give you this link, because we can do that. I can pull somebody off the street that has a camera and show them how to do those 2 things. And it doesn't take a lot to learn that. But my fear for that person is that they're only going to be able to afford to do that for so long. Even if they don't run the numbers, at some point it's not going to add up, and it's going to cause friction in relationships of like, you're going to shoot another wedding. We're not really making any money. We're just going into more debt because you want to buy the next lens and the next camera and the next computer and the next software. Like somebody's going to figure out that you're not making money at this. And that's my fear, is like, I want our industry to just get strong and be like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to serve you with these other products that I feel like I'm selling it to you. It's like, okay, then don't sell it to them. Just serve them with it. Like,
right. That's all you
I have
to
to show up to Target to buy things. I don't feel like they're selling to me. I'm going in and there's things that I need and there's things that I want. And so they're not, I don't feel like I'm being sold to. I enjoy going to Target, you know. It's similar in a lot of ways, where it's like, we're going to show them the things that they really hired us for, whether they know it or not. Like, they could be hearing things from other avenues of like, oh, you can get a discount if you don't do a book or something like that. But it's like, this is what I do for a living. I document, we create this experience together. I document it. And then I want you to have that to look back on for generations to come. Right. That's what I do for a living. You call it what you want. We happen to call it photography. Photography is the service part of what I do, but I want to show up as that professional. And Beth, you're going to be here for so much longer, and you're going to be part of this movement of like, hey, I'm going to show up for my clients. Referrals come from it. Your sense of worth comes from it, because you get to see them and the emotions that come from them looking through their book over and over again. You get to see it maybe once, but like, you're doing a great job. I appreciate that you showed up and did this, and that you responded to kind of like the call that we're making of like, hey, you know what? I'm for you as a photographer. I am for you and your success, because I care about those relationships as well, the people that you're serving. And statistics on both fronts, photography, brides, families, you know, all those things, statistics are showing that we're not doing much with these photos, yet we're taking more pictures than we ever have because of camera phones and all these types of things. What's the best camera on the planet? The one that you have on you. So there's lots of pictures being taken, yet we don't know what to do with them. We, like, my phone is like, oh, my phone's out of space. I need more space. Like, I need a new phone. Like, I need to delete some stuff, you know. That's what we're dealing with. But if I hire somebody to come into my life and to document a big experience like a wedding or my family, you know, whatever it is, I want you to show up and serve me with like, what do I do with these photos? And that's ultimately what you're doing. So I appreciate you for doing that.
Thank you.
Speak to that, because it wasn't that long ago that you're in those shoes, but it wasn't that long ago that you were in the shoes of so many photographers that are like, yeah, but I'm not Beth. I'm not James and Jess. I'm not Anna Marie Atkins. I'm not Caitlin James. You know, you were around some pretty rock star photographers, and before you even knew it, probably I was in the same situation. But, you know, 17, 18 years ago, I was like, hey, that guy does photography. That gal does photography. I'm going to go chat with them. Then I figure out like they're charging 20 grand to do this before anybody else did and all this stuff. I was like in the midst of giants, and they were like a friend that I went to church with, you know, that I thought took pictures. And I was like, that is amazing. So I'm like so grateful that you were around those. But I don't think you happen to be friends with Anna Marie. That's amazing. I love her. I've had lunch with her. She's great. But here's the deal. People have access to her. People have access to Caitlin and James because of this. Like, I will be on here with those people sharing their information as well. You don't have to like go to Virginia Tech with them in order to do this, right? Like, what would you tell to the photographers that like, well, I'm not Beth. I don't know Anna Marie. I don't know Caitlin. Like, what would be the next step for them?
Yeah. So I think probably the hardest thing that I've done as a photographer in the early days is, you know, because like, you know, I think you have to think about who you really want to serve. You can't serve everybody. Like, you are only one human. And I know, coming from like an Enneagram 3, that I feel like I constantly want to serve everyone. And it's a comparison issue. It's a lot of things, right? You know, like for me, and I'm sure anybody else feels this way, when you do know someone and you know someone in a different season of something, like I knew Anna before she was a photographer. So
Right.
like she is one, and she's amazing. And I would still tell everybody, like, she's amazing. You should take every course or anything she does, you should do it. Right. But like, I also would text Anna to ask her questions because our children are less than 4 weeks apart, so it's different. But like, you can know those people. I feel like the thing is that we put people on a pedestal out of our own right to do that in an app like Instagram, where they are just normal people who, just like me, who just was from a small town, one red light, 1,000 people, was like, you know what? I want to do this because I want to serve people. I already have a camera. I'm just going to start doing it and see what happens. And I think a lot of people don't think that. But I think if you want to be a successful photographer, in my opinion, the very first thing, in my opinion, you have to do is that you have to decide who you want to serve, and you can't serve everyone. Like, I say no to a lot of really great girls every day or every week in inquiries because I had to decide, what is that number for me that I'm okay with leaving Scott and Connor on a Saturday? Like, what is that number? And it took me a while to get to that number. Like, I did weddings. My first wedding was free. My next wedding was 250. My next was 350. We all have to do that. And I think we live in a world where we want this instant success. Well, I want to charge $2,000. I don't mean this ugly, but you're not worthy of $2,000 if you've never done a wedding. Like, there's a lot that goes into that. You are taking on someone's one day, just like you said. Like, you need to have hard drives in place that you're going to back this up on. Like, you can't go to them in 3 months and say, I'm sorry, I lost them. My camera fried, or my computer died because my toddler stuck it in the tub. Like, you can't do those things. And so I think that a lot of people think it's not about who you know. It is, number one, do you have enough grit to do it? Like, it's hard work. And number two, are you in a place genuinely that you can think about the people that you want to serve and you can focus on that? Like, for me, with a marketing background, I hardly ever talk about any other kind of portraiture that I would do on my Instagram. You go there, you're going to find out about my family and weddings, because that's really what I want to be about. But on Facebook, because that is just so like the platform for grandmas and older people now, every time I do a session, I don't care if it's somebody's birthday party or a newborn session, whatever I'm doing, everyone gets a sneak peek, even if it's just one photo, because that has grown my following on Facebook, because everybody gets excited to have a shout out. So I put a sneak peek up of one picture from it. Does it look like I do it all the time? And then they share it and be like, look, we can't wait to see more. You have to understand the platforms that you're sharing on and how you can make it where you can be going towards your goals, but also serving the people in your path right now. All of my clients feel like they're special because I have a private Facebook group for them. I put a lot of stuff in there. And so I still get referrals, like you said, out of that portraiture if I need that. But on my main Instagram and on my website, if you go to Elizabeth Hill Photography, it's about weddings, because that's what I want to continue to grow in. So I think that a lot of photographers don't really think about, like, Alicia made us do this thing in the beginning of our mastermind where we create an avatar in our minds. Who is she, or who is that couple? Who is it that we want to serve, that if they came into your inbox right now, you would be like doing a happy dance, pouring a glass of wine, being like, oh my gosh, they want to work with me. I don't know who, like, for me, her name is Nicole, and they love to go to Europe on a vacation. They would save up for it even if it took them 3 years. And, they like to go hiking on the weekends, and they're foodies, and their idea of a good time is going to a local winery and drinking, a glass of wine and listening to an open band. Like, I know who that person is. So if that kind of person came into my inbox, I'm excited. But at the same time, if I get an inquiry and it's like, hi, we want to have a wedding at a barn. It's red. We're going to do sunflowers and, jeans. I have to decide, do I want to do that? Or am I doing that out of a necessity, like you said, in a season of needing money? And then you have to think from a marketing perspective, how are you going to tell that story better? Like, I like the challenge. I'd probably take it on. But, but I think that that's what a lot of photographers think in their minds, is that they're like, I'll never be doing those crazy, amazing weddings. And you will, if you can be faithful in the small things.
Yep.
If you can be faithful to every one of the clients that does come into your box, and you serve them well and give them an incredible experience, they're going to have no problem going to tell the next people, being like, you really want them because they take very good care of you. And that's going to just add to the value that you can eventually get to where you want to be.
Yeah. What I hear
And
you
I'm on that
saying
journey.
like over and over again is like, be the professional. Like
Yeah.
that's just like the underlying thing. Like we can all go buy a camera. Like I can buy a decent camera even at Costco if I wanted to, and I could go out, and if I had never shot a wedding before, I could go and start taking pictures of people, post a handful of things, but like learn your craft. Absolutely. Become a better and better photographer, and raise your prices accordingly. Serve your clients well. That's another thing I hear you saying, like serve your clients well. Get to know your clients, market to your dream ideal client, but serve them well. Know that you don't get to just take pictures and like download onto a jump drive and just give them just that. Like that would be, that's even a step in the right direction of like, here is your actual images. You're responsible for them. Like learn how to back them up and have multiple backups, and like how to export them and how to serve them well with like CloudSpot and things like that. Like here's how you can get to a pro lab, and here's the lab that I choose, and this is why. There's so many things that go into running to business. You use the word grit. Have the grit. It's such an interesting time right now, right? Because I feel like, and I apologize if I'm stepping my bounds with people that are watching, but I feel like there's a lot of people right now that are just turning on the television and saying like, how should I feel today? And we are in a crazy time. There's no doubt about it. I think we should be aware of what the news is telling us, but ultimately it's like, how am I going to show up today is the difference between you can be afraid. And there's times I've cried in the last week. Like there's a lot of stuff going on and we don't know things, but I'm also like, but fear can sit there with me, but this is how I choose to show up today. Fear's there. It just can't, if it drives, it's going to run me crazy. I'm going to drive, and this is who I want to be today. Today, I want to be a leader. Today, when I knew I was having this conversation with you, I woke up and I've had conversations with the bank. I've had conversations with employees. I've had conversations with like my finance department. I don't like finance still to this day. I don't love it. I'm learning to like it. I'm learning to like cuddle with it a little bit and be like, yep, we got to make decisions based on this. I'm still a creative that happens to run a good sized company, but I got up and I did the things that I knew I needed to do, because for me, I come first, meaning like not a selfish way, but like I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to make sure I'm ready for the day. I do my meditation. I do my things, then my family. And I take care of my family. And I know that most of the stuff that I do is for my family. Then I show up for my team, for the industry, for the influences that we may have. There's a lot to everybody's life. We get to choose how we respond. And what you're saying, what I hear you saying is like, I am choosing to be a professional for my clients. And I'm going to make sure that they feel secure that the photos that I take of their experience are going to get taken really good care of. They're going to be in the right space. They're going to get backed up. And then I'm going to also serve you with an album. So in the album space, so I've been calling you Beth because that's what it says on your Facebook.
Which is fine. That's what I am, Beth. Anybody who knows me, like if you talk to any of my friends, they're like, Elizabeth is if she's in trouble. Like if you want to get her attention, Beth is, you know me.
That's good to know. So if I get your attention, if I need to get your attention, I'll call you Elizabeth. But for now, we'll call you Beth. So Beth, there's a photographer watching, right? That is like, yep, I charge $1,500, $2,000 for a wedding. I've shot for the last 2 years. I'm in her shoes. What do I do? Like, how do I show up for my clients and serve them with albums? Like that is my thing, but I can show you how to implement it and how to do it. What is step one? What did you do? Whose education did you take? And how did you do that? How did you like say, I'm going to do albums for my clients?
So I first heard about Kiss albums from Caitlin, you know, as far as like I went to her open live thing in November, up in, or December, up in
December.
Richmond.
I was there.
Yeah. We talked that day, and that's when I told you that I was going to do Alicia's mastermind, and that I had talked about albums, and like I knew that I was looking for at that point a great product, because I had just like, I know what the 1,500. I mean, I don't want it to sound like I'm trying to put a stigma on people, because everyone comes from different backgrounds, what they can spend, all the things. But there is something that happens in the mind of the person who is spending between $1,500 and $2,000. It's harder to make that pitch to them because they already, in my mind, don't value photography a ton. And like I know that that's hard because I've been in that season. That's what last year was for me. All 28 weddings last year were shot under $2,000, and so or at $2,000, and so it has been more difficult to sell the albums to them. But I think the first thing that I learned is definitely in Caitlin's stuff and with Alicia and James and Jess is that you can't focus on selling them the physical album. You must focus on explaining to them how important their story is. So, taking the time to design an album and Kiss was ultimately why I ended up going with you guys, is because I wanted simple. That's what I was after, was simple. I wanted good quality that when they saw it, they knew it was different than what they had seen their friends have on their coffee tables. And I didn't want the process to be something that was going to take 6 months because then people get frustrated. There's plenty of statistics out there that show the more you have to edit something, even when you're doing your own home, you're like, I'm over it now. Now I just want it done, and you don't want to get to that point with an album. So I love that there is that 3 max that you can tell them right up, being like 3 times, dude, we're done with. After that, it's going, so that was the first. I think that's the first step for anybody. I think the first step is that people need to get sample albums. You need to decide that is going to be an investment that you're going to make, and you need to get all 3 sizes. That's my opinion. Like I got the 12 by 12, I got the 10 by 10, and the 8 by 8. And even though I'm shifting now to selling more of the 10 by 10s, all with the exception of one that I know of, all 15 brides this year are getting the 12 by 12 of my thing after I got the samples. I got the samples in December. So I want to tell people this timeline so that they know that this isn't something I've been working on for a year. Like, I met you, I got the samples in December. They came in January. When I'm sitting in January, I already had all 15 brides I have right now, like for the year. So I haven't been booking a bunch of weddings in the last 2 months. Like I already have the 15 I have. So I decided when I got the sample albums, I made a video of me flipping through it. My big 12 by 12 is all my best wedding images are in it. And I invited
multiple weddings.
Right. Multiple weddings, all my best images. I think I stuffed that thing with as many that you could give me in it, in thick pages in a linen. And I invited all of my brides and their moms over to my house for tea and snacks.
Look at that.
And I brought them over and let them see all 3 albums, hold them. I intentionally made the 10 by 10 about seniors because I have a seniors basketball team. So all the 10 by 10 seniors. And then the 8 by 8 was all families thin, like what you would get in your actual, like collection for me. And I made that big 12 by 12 all about weddings. And every one of my brides is like, I'll be upgrading to that. And that's how it started, is because they saw it and they're like, I have to have it. I'm the bride. I want the 12 by 12 to remember my day. And none of them were even thinking about albums before then. All of them had signed me without an album because I wasn't doing it. And then I showed them what their story could be. And now to add to that experience after I've done that, of course, we do the sip and celebrate. That's what we call it. We host everybody. We started doing that after December. We did it with all of our December brides. So we got your samples. And then in January, we hosted 4 sip and celebrates of our December brides. And when we started doing that, every one of them bought albums. I mean, I just did an order with you guys yesterday where I did 3 12 by 12s, but 2 are parents and 1 is the bride. They all 3 got the 12 by 12 because they want to be able, that their kids are only children, so they don't have siblings. And so both moms wanted to get a 12 by 12 custom designed to what they love so that they could give it to their respective child one day when they passed on. They're like, we'll give you our wedding album too. And that's what they talked about when they were at their sip and celebrate. So I think when you're starting out in albums, you think that it's not possible. And honestly, I think, I did not make a lot of profit off the first few albums that I sold. I barely put them above what they were costing me because I wanted to get them in people's hands. And I think that's the part that people don't understand, is that this Kiss gives you the ability to know what your cost is, be okay with it, and then be okay with what you're going to upsell that to cover your cost and time. So I mean, I wasn't doing that in the beginning, because my hourly rate is a certain number. So in my opinion, you should be adding at least that hourly rate to your album because it's the same hour of your time. So,
Yep. You have to pay
if you're
yourself to do the design,
right,
It's free
you had to
sometimes.
you had to edit them, you had to pick your favorites, you had to put the design together. So a lot of people are like, oh, well, if the album costs me $200, I'm only going to charge $300. Well, why do you do that when you offer sessions for $400 an hour? That doesn't make a bit of sense to me. You just spent the same hour just in a different lane.
That's
So I
right.
think that's what a lot of people don't understand about albums is that it all goes back to worth of your time. Being like, I'm going to do an album. If it costs $200 and you charge $400 an hour, then that album better be worth $600 because it took you an hour to do it. So and then that kind of can help that mindset for people who are not sellers, because I'm with James and Jess on this. It is really not about selling. I did not believe that. I just sold my first 2 albums, but when I messaged you the other day for like an actual profit of 3 times what it cost me. And I couldn't believe it because James is just like, when you do it for the first time, it's like an addiction. And it is. It is like an addiction because
it is.
I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are going to get a 12 by 12 album, leather, cameo with the engraving. It looks gorgeous, thick pages. I can't wait. I mean, I was going to tell you that, well, you probably can see on the back end. I think I've ordered 12 or 13 albums in the last week.
Yeah.
So they're all coming out at like the same time. So I think I'm just going to do like a massive reveal video of like, look at all these, because they're all different sizes, all different kinds, and shows that your story can still be showcased at all different price points. And I think a lot of people don't think that. So that would be my advice.
No. Yeah, there's so much there. Again, you're just sharing your heart, and I can tell you're passionate about it. It's a beautiful thing because it's so new, and that's why I was like, hey, jump on with me. Like I'm showing up as much as I can right now because people are like, what do I do in this time? How can I make money? I'm not taking pictures. And that's what we think when we're taking pictures, we're making money. When I'm designing an album, I don't really need to charge for, even without everything that's going on in the world. Like I'm doing it. I'm not paying a designer. It's like, no, it's your time. Like pay yourself. So you said something along the lines of that. And it's like, we just launched a new calculator that I'm really excited about. And so you can go in and put your stuff in there. I jumped on with the lead developer and was like, he's like, what's your markup on this? And he had like a normal markup, but I was like, he's not a photographer. But I was like, 225% is the markup. And he's like, wow, like that's expensive. And I was like, it takes 2 hours to design a book, and then you communicate back and forth, and I've seen that kind of like phrase go around. If I charge you for 30 minutes of my time, it's not about the 30 minutes. It's about for you, it's about the 2 years that you've put into this.
Right.
It's about the craft that you have. It's about the heart that you have. It's about time away from your friends, your family, your kids, maybe whatever it is. There's so much gold here that you've shared, Beth. That's like, I put 225% in because I know what it's like to go back and forth with my clients and to serve them well. And I know that do they question my retirement and the things that I have more than just a business here. It's not like I get paid $300 an hour. It's like, yeah, you can look at it that way. That's like saying a pastor works 1 day a week, or a photographer works 1 day a week, or, like there's so much that goes into this that I don't need to really like prove to you. Like I mark it up 225% because I know what it takes for me to even go to, like, what does it cost to go to a trade show or to invest your time and try and find a book? You can go online and put in a Facebook group like, hey, what album company are you using? But it takes so much to make these decisions, and we have to value that at a rate that's like, I want to do this for a living. I want to serve you as a client, and I want to serve all the people that I'm going to have the opportunity to serve as well. I want to be around for a long time and do this for a living, And so again, you keep showing up as a professional in such a great way in the recent 2 years, And so you said like, next step, I want to give people like tangible things that they can take from this, and there's like so much stuff they can do with this stuff, because they're in your shoes, but you said like, get samples, and we've been preaching about this for a little while, like the stack People buy what you show them,
Right. They do.
Imagine it this way. I was thinking about this when you were talking. What if you're a photographer, right? And I'm like, great, I need a photographer. So I'm going to go. I heard Beth's a photographer, and I'm just like, hey, Beth, I heard you're a photographer. And like, you literally don't have photos to show me. Like, it's very similar, because it's like,
it is.
I want to buy an album. Great. Why am I going to spend $1,600 on an album? I have no idea, right?
I have no idea.
Way. I think you're crazy if you're going to tell me I'm going to spend $1,600 an album when I don't get to see it. Like, if I'm going to spend $100 on an album and I don't get to see it, maybe I'll buy it. And I can just go buy that, like from Costco if I wanted to, or whatever, name some of those companies. I'm willing to spend X amount of dollars, but I'm not willing to spend $1,600. I'm not going to go buy an Audi or a Honda, for that matter, for tens of $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 if I don't get to see it. I've never been one before. Not a chance.
Yeah, and that's what my husband said. He's very different than me. I'm very like gray.
What is he on the Enneagram?
He is a 2-3. So like, he is the helper. And then, but when he has a list and he wants to get it done, he doesn't want help. He wants to just do it.
He's a 3 out with his 3.
Yeah, he's going to crush out. And you don't add things to the list. You don't say like, oh, here's the list, and then I go over and like write a few more things. He goes, no. This was the list. Like, this is something else. And that's what he said about albums. He says, there is no way that me as a human would ever give anybody $1,600 without seeing an album.
Right.
And so I think what a lot of people think is that they need more clients. And that is I believe that lie for a very long time. I still struggle with that lie of like, I need more clients. But what I think a lot of photographers, myself included, so I want to be the first to say, like, I have this same struggle, is I do not sit down enough and think about how can I improve the experience of the clients I already have. And that's exactly where albums can come into play. We're like, oh my gosh, I don't have $500 to, buy album samples. I don't have that kind of money. Yeah. But the problem is that you could go out one weekend and do 3 or 4 portraits for $500 and instead of and not put that in your normal budget, and take that $500 and invest it into albums, because then the 10 weddings that you do have this year, or the 5 weddings you do have this year, you can focus on making those relationships with them to give them an album where you make money, where you do not have to shoot anymore. You don't have to, like, I feel like that's the problem, is that people don't do albums because the number one lie they say is, well, I don't have enough time. And the reason you don't have enough time is because you're trying to be in so many lanes that you cannot actively show up and be intentional with the clients that are investing the most in you. If you are doing 5 weddings at $1,500, that is way more than you're doing in portraits. Like in like 5 humans paid you $1,500 as opposed to 25 humans paid you $200.
Right.
Okay. So, that's why I don't understand for a lot of photographers, where I'm like, okay, you have 5 humans, they paid you $1,500. Those 5 humans should be on your top priority list of how can you give them a better experience from start to finish. I don't care what that number is. It's higher than portraits. So for albums, there it is that like, if you even sold 3 of those 3 album sales would almost replicate those 5 humans into 10 humans, as opposed to you having to go shoot another 25 people to get to those 3 albums. So a lot of that for people is just sitting down tangibly and saying, okay, like, I'm going to invest in this and show this to them, because these are my clients who have spent the most money on me and invested in me and believe in me, that I'm going to give them a better experience from start to finish. So, I mean, like, I'm going back to my portrait people now, and I do offer the portraits. Like, I do a little 8x8, and I do thin pages, and I have done the family thing through it. And I do have a few people right now who have done it for their family session, or like a newborn session, or milestone, something like that. But by and large, like, if you want to be a wedding photographer, an anniversary photographer, an engagement photographer, couples are your jam. Those are the people that are going to invest in you the most, and you should be investing right back in them with an album, as opposed to filling up your weekend with another 10 or 12 portrait shoots. Unless that's what you want to do.
They're different lanes, like you said, and we can do all the things, and that's totally fine. Because like you were talking about your like priority, right? Like priority in the 1400s was only a singular word and meant the next most important thing. Priorities is something that we've made into priorities. And in a book I read every year, Essentialism, he talks about like, you can't have a list of priorities. It doesn't make sense. If you went to somebody in 1300 and said, what's your list of priorities? They're like, I don't understand what the word priorities means. Priority means the next most important thing. Now, we have a hybrid of that and all those things now, but you're saying like, I'm going to serve my current clients well.
Right.
I was talking to a mentor this morning, like, hey, things are tough and how do we respond to this? How are we going to get through this? And all those things, just trying to be smart. And he said, how are your top clients doing? And I have a list that my team regularly gives me. It's the top 100 people on the KISS list of thousands of photographers that use us. And I've been calling them before all this happened, just like, hey, thank you for your loyalty and all those things. But I haven't reached out and said, how are you doing? Like, how are you doing today in this, whatever we have going on? And I will be there for some, and some will say like, I'm doing good. Some will say like, I don't know what to do. It's going to be all over the road, but I am here to take care of our clients, to KISS clients, and so that's why I show up and do these, but I'm also going to show up for my top clients as well, just like you're saying. So you have 5 weddings, and you shot them for $1,500 each. No album should be in that, right? But if you serve them with a design and you can show them an album and 3 of them choose to go ahead with an album, you get to serve 3 people with an album. On average, you can make at least $1,000 per album. You can do that. We have a way of doing that. Show them an 8x8 linen thin page. It costs you $105. MSRP is $600 on that. I've taught on this a lot. So just scroll down and you can see all these info. Like, instead of taking crazy notes, just scroll down. I have a whole education on this. That's how Beth showed up, from James and Jess and from Caitlin and from myself. We're preaching the same stuff. But start at a $600 album, give them a discount, 3 rounds of changes. You have the next 30 days to get this done. Here's your design, and show up for them. For your future clients, you get to now say, hey, I do this and I do this so that you can have an album. So every single one of your clients can have an album. So you're going to transition into all these things. I wanted to let you know, step 1, that Beth even says, is get some samples. Show them what this album is. Have an 8x8, 10x10, 12x12. We call that the stack. An 8x8 linen thin page with engagements in it, 10x10 with a wedding in it, 12x12. You can have a wedding in it. You can do what Beth did and have your highlights, all your favorite photos in it, so they can see multiple weddings. Do what you can serve well with, what you believe in. Show up. Take that step and see it as serving your clients. Don't feel like you're selling to them. You're already, selling your service, right? And we're excited once they've chosen to use us as a photographer. That's wonderful. What does it mean to you to be a photographer? For me, it means I'm going to show up and serve you as a professional in this relationship. I'm going to show you what to do with these photos. I'm going to show you why you would have these in your relationship, why on your anniversary a year from now you shouldn't be emailing your photographer asking for a link. You can sit down, pop a glass of wine, a bottle of wine, and share a glass of wine together and flip through that photo and just that photo book and remember what that day was like before you go celebrate that night. That's what I want to do for a living. And that's what I think photographers ultimately want to do. Our clients ultimately want us to show up like that, but I understand all the barriers. So step 1, reach out to let us know what we can do to help you. We regularly have samples that are discounted, and there's a way of getting started with multiple ways. There's a sample kit. There is a sample discount always. We can make this happen for you. I understand it takes an investment. Now is a time more than ever to show up for your clients. If you've shot 15 weddings in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, you have 15 people that you can serve. And that's what you've done. That is what people have reached out and said, like, hey, I sent an email to 10 people and 5 of them want albums. Now, Beth, this is what I wanted to share with you. I remember you saying this, but you have so many albums in the works right now. Now you can hand deliver them, like legally, you probably can't hand deliver them.
Right now,
we're going to get shut down. Like this cop's going to be like, I pulled over this lady, Beth, and she had 10 albums in her car. Like, and I had to arrest her because she's not supposed to be on the streets right now. All joking aside, like this is what I was thinking. Like, how do you show up for these clients that you've already showed up for? How do you continue to show up? Say like, hey, grab your phone. And when you get this box, I'm so excited for you to get your album. And I'm so grateful that you were in this with me and that I was able to serve you in this way. I loved your wedding. This is what I loved about it. Do me a favor. If you're open for this, I want to post this on my social. Most people want to be on your social, by the way. Grab a phone and just put it on this coffee cup and just prop it up and just video yourself opening it and flipping through it for the first time. Send me that video. I want to share a piece of it because people don't buy what you do. They buy how you make them feel. Yes. And Beth, what you've done is made them feel cherished, taken care of. The experience is worth them investing. The way Ben Hartley says it, which I love, he says, don't tell them how much the book's worth. Ask them how much they think they're worth. Because if I feel valuable enough, I'm going to invest that money into myself by saying, Beth, I want you to photograph my wedding. I want you to show me the albums because that's how much I'm worth. I value my relationship enough to show up and do that. Yeah. That is, I mean, the lights came on for me. I heard that last year, and I've been doing this for a long time. I heard that last year, and I was like, tell me your thing, man, because that is a gift. Because we do struggle with that. Like, what is my worth? I wake up in the morning and I have imposter syndrome and what am I worth? And today's the day they find out that I'm not worth enough. On a good day, when I'm all dressed up and I'm getting ready to marry, my partner, I'm worth the money, and I'm worth this. My relationship's worth investing in this stuff. Yeah. So you've done a great job when you reach out to them, and when you're able to, when you're probably going to have to like ship these to them and stuff like that. Just have them do that and then start to share that, because it's going to turn into this thing that's like, people are like, Beth, you photographed my wedding and I don't have an album. And I said no to that last email, but I see somebody that said yes, and I want to feel the way that they feel, and you get to use that. You get to evergreen that for as long as you need to. You're going to keep showing up and serving these people with books, but you have so much opportunity with all the books that you just recently ordered and all the people that you got to serve with albums and your future clients. I want to let you know you're doing a great job. Keep showing up the way that you are. I want to learn more from you and how you're serving your clients so that I can share it with our community. Thank you so much for showing up for our community in this way. I can show up every day and say, like, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. It's a gift to me that you show up with me to serve our community as well, because I know you have a heart for photographers as well. Like, you care that they're in business with you, because what's going to be beautiful is 5 years from now, people heard this message with you and they're showing up and serving their clients, and you guys together are going to be like, what are you doing now? Like, how can we better serve our clients? How are you doing it? What's working for you? How can we teach more people that are just starting to show up and succeed? How can I learn from Caitlin or whoever it is at that time? And who are you looking to for this stuff? There's so much that you've said that is gold in this. So I just want to thank you for showing up with me. I will show up every day by myself if I need to, but I am just honored that you were like, I met Kiss. I follow Caitlin. I know Anna Marie. I listened to James and Jess, and I did it, and it made me feel, and you said, like, I felt valuable, because they spent $1,600 on a book that I wasn't sure that anybody was going to ever spend $1,600 on a book. You even said
their engagement 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That's when I did it.
I wasn't charging enough because you didn't know, right? But then you learned. Now you know what it's worth. And you're just going to keep turning that up until you're like, this is what I feel like it's worth. And then it could go up, it could go down. You're going to learn. But you did such a good job. I just really appreciate you sharing your story with me. Yeah. And then being willing to jump on here and share it with the community. There's so many people. We may not ever know the difference that we made in some of these people's lives, but somebody's going to come out and say, like, hey, I was listening to you. You were on with Beth, and I was in her shoes, and I made a change. So you're making a difference. I appreciate it. Our industry needs it. clients across the world need it. There's like, after this, people are still going to get married, and they need to be served well. And it's because of you that some photographer is going to show up differently in their life and serve them well. So I just want to thank you.
Well,
Please thank Beth. Where can we find you? Where can we follow along with your story more?
So yeah, Elizabeth Hill Photography. My husband and I do it together. So yeah, he's a teacher by day and photographer by weekend. So we do that. So you can find me on Instagram there, and Elizabeth Hill Photography online. So yeah, and if you are, I just want to say this because I think that our industry needs this, but I just launched Agape Creative Retreat. It is an actual retreat for creative women in January in Disney World. So it's just a faith-based and destination place to go dream for a few days. We've got a lot of exciting things coming. Alicia's coming to speak there as well for me. And so, yeah, if you are interested in that, there are so many great resources, but I was looking for somewhere for women just to go and dream and think and like show up for each other intentionally for 3 days before they start a big new year. So I'm excited about it.
Awesome. Yeah, Nicole linked in the comments to your Instagram, it looks like. That is wonderful. I'm a dreamer. I'm like a connector, creative, pioneer. And the creative in me sometimes like gets into the nuts and bolts of business and running KISS and in a family and all the things. My team's like, I need you to go dream, because when you go dream, then we get to go do the vision work. We get to make it into something, and it's hard to create space to dream. And it's hard when we're under it all to even think about dreaming. Like, it feels selfish at times, but it is a beautiful thing when we dream, because it's from those dreams that we're able to like show up and serve our clients well. So that sounds like a cool retreat. I am not invited, and I understand.
I know,
but the other 80% of our industry that is female has the opportunity to do this.
Well,
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, it's the first one. I worked at Disney in college, and so I have a special place in my heart for Disney. And so a lot of people don't ever get away, and like you said, they feel like it's guilty, and that's why we wanted to do something like this. Is that it's so needed. It's really needed.
Selfish. Like, we need to take care of ourselves so that we are the best version of us. So when we have the opportunity to serve our family or our friends or our clients, that we're the best version of us. And it's so hard. We will always have room for growth. We will always, I hope I never arrive. If I have arrived, my pride and arrogance has gotten in the way, and not many people are going to like me. I'm going to continue to show up and try and be a better version of myself. And it's at retreats like this that we're able to do that, to dream, to be surrounded by people that believe in us, that can look at us and say like, yeah, you can do this. Like, sometimes we need to hear that, I've had that conversation with my wife in the last couple of days. Like, I got some hard decisions to make with our business and how we're going to show up and respond to this thing that we're going through. I need you. I wish I didn't at times, but I'm not a monk. And I believe we were built for relationships. And so I need you, honey. Like, she's like, how can I support you? Because I don't always know how to, It's at retreats like this that it's like you can ask for people to support you and to tell you that you can do it. And that sounds like a cool thing. So definitely check her out. She's doing cool things. I'm excited to follow along and see all the things, the ways that she's going to continue to serve her clients. I'm grateful that you're a KISS client and that you're willing to show up with me and serve the KISS community. So this will be here. We're going to leave it here on KISS Book Social. It's a private group. So feel free to comment, to ask questions, ask financial questions. That's why it's a private group, because, we wouldn't say $1,600 and the profit was this and the cost was this if it wasn't a private group. This is for photographers. We don't do these on Instagram anymore when it comes to finances because of that. It's a safe place, but I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep finding people like Beth that are out there just crushing it and showing up for their clients, ultimately serving their clients well. And we're going to share how they do it and share that with you so that you can do the same. You can do this. The first step would be reach out. Let us know how we can help. Those samples matter. Creating a system. It takes a little bit to implement a system like this, but it's worth it. I want you to be around next year and the year after that and 5 years from now, sharing your story about how you served your clients well. Beth, thank you so much for being on here.
You're welcome.
Excited for people to see this, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks. I'll look at the comments and everything. If there's anything I can answer, I will.
Cool. Thank you so much.
No problem. Bye-bye.